whether it's vegetables or whether it's fruit or whether you're going to raise animals, if you raise them, you will have to sell them in some way. So the selling of them is really what it comes down to. There's many ways you can sell it. This is just a fire it out idea of different ways to grow, to sell what you grow. So you know what CSA is? Community supported agriculture. What's the term here in New Zealand?
We don't do it much.
You don't do it much? They still call it CSA?
Yeah.
Yep. It's just this hasn't been very many of them. It hasn't been a big uptake.
The idea of it is you would gather, you would basically pre-sell a box of vegetables or fruit at the beginning of the season, and everybody pays basically their share, because you're saying if 50 people will support a farmer, then whatever that farmer produces will be divided into the 50 people over the years, and we'll try to guarantee you a box that will have 1 lettuce, 2 onions, and 3 carrots, and X, Y, Z till the end of the season, and will produce for 20 weeks, or in your case, it's like, gee, CSAs could be 40 weeks, 50 weeks, whatever. But you don't want to go to 50 weeks because you want the farmer to get a break. And that's one of your problems here, is you don't get much of a break. Things don't stop. So that's that way. You could go through a distributorship, which is you just bring it to a distributor who will then distribute it. You can sell through grocery stores, farmers markets you're familiar with. A roadside stand is basically a farmer's market on the stand with mostly just your products, but it could be more. A wholesaler as opposed to a distributor. Often you can sell to a wholesaler who will then sell to a distributor who will then sell to a grocery store. And so each of those chains, everybody wants their cut. And so you're just left with less and less. Depending on how much you grow and how you do it and how mechanized you are, it could work. You could do a delivery system where you would deliver to people. You could sell what you grow by mail order. There are examples of very successful farms selling everything by mail order. You could set up a food truck, so that's a nice example. Imagine what you grow. You take it and you transform it into food through a food truck, or just sell it from a food truck. You could sell off the back of your truck or back of the car. And I've seen lots of examples where you start and you just bring it into town, you open the back of the truck and we're open for business, and you kind of run away from the inspectors or whatever. I don't know. You could sell it by the internet. Institutions would be your schools and hospitals and so on. Hey, why not? Selling it to the kids so that they can eat real good food, that would be a great idea. Anybody ever sell door to door? It works. I've sold my juice door to door, and whatever you have to do. When you're starting up, you do whatever you have to do sometimes. Selling to restaurants is great. They demand a very high quality, but they'll pay top price. So selling through chefs, buying clubs, it's like your co-ops. Like we saw quite a few co-ops around, so that's the equivalent of a actually a co-op is different from a buying club, but that's another source. U-Pick. You're familiar with U-Pick?
Yeah.
Pick your own and sell it through a workshop. You do let's say Jason can do a workshop on grafting trees, and then he could sell to everybody who came to the workshop to rootstock, for example, and science, and then you can do your own at home. So however you want to arrange it, that's some of them. And so here's a distinction of these things, how you can sell. So the main distinction is to differentiate between retail, which I call direct to the eater, where you are now directly, if Nikki's buying, then I'm selling it right to her. That's direct. As opposed to wholesale, which means any other way where if I sell to Nikki, I'm not selling directly. So I'm selling through Kieran, and Kieran sells to Nikki. So you see, it's no longer a direct link. Yeah, usually everybody does. So you can see how the more intermediaries, the more either expensive or not always more expensive, but the less the farmer gets. And the farmer often is a price taker. He's just squeezed and says, that's the price I can get, well, that's what I'll get. And that's a big distinction between wholesale and retail. So a few retail ones, we saw farmers market, kiosk, vending machine. You ever think that you could sell something that you grow or raise in a vending machine and it exists, it's done? Door to door, your CSA, your mail order catalog, or you can sell to someone who has a mail order catalog and they do the selling for you. Or you can have your own catalog or have it through a website. You pick. Membership you pick is what we focus on. Have an auction. That exists. Almost all the flowers sold in the world, cut flowers, are sold by auction. Yeah. In Holland, the big, virtually supply much of the world at times. Holland they have the floral clock, and it's just an auction, and I'm willing to pay this much, and then somebody says, I'm willing to pay this much, and so they get it. That's an auction. So supply farmers at a farmer stand, distributor, vending machine distributor. So you sell to a company who fills vending machines. You ever see apples or fruit in vending machines?
No.
Really?
Chocolate bars.
You get chocolate bars in vending machines.
Never fruit in vending machines?
No.
Oh my God, there's an opportunity.
Maybe.
Every one of our, almost anywhere there's vending machines, unless all it is beverages. As soon as there's food, you'll be the chocolate bars, yes, and then there'll be another vending machine with all manner of fruit. So, wow. It's very advantageous.
There's people that started milk. So,
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a real good one. So you could supply a company that does a mail order catalog. You could supply a store, cafeteria, restaurant, and you can sell at an auction, but not sell direct. So anyway, that's just a few. But to give you an idea, there's at least 20 ways to sell something. And so you take your pick. Take your pick on how much of a cut you like. I hope you make the distinction between wholesale and retail. So here's the raw milk vending machine. So that's something that's been increasing. And you say it is here?
Yeah.
They
started in Motueka.
A farm roadside stand, that works really well actually. We set this up 2 years ago, and it's an honor system. So we just there's a can in there, and we just ask that whatever people want to buy, and they look at the price. So that's $2 each, okay. And so they'll take, tally up and just leave the money in the can, and we come in the evening and we empty the can. And overall, it's not enough to warrant putting somebody there, but it's interesting enough that, hey, even if we'd have some stolen, and we don't, it's still a great deal. People tend to be honest, and what we find is if you sow honesty, you reap, actually if you sow trust, you reap honesty. So we assume that people will be honest, so we trust, and they reciprocate by being honest about it. So it works well. Why focus on the retail side? Well, the main thing is you want to focus on direct-to-eater, and you want to be a price maker versus a price taker. Often, we've seen farmers, they just take whatever the price it is, and then they grumble and complain for a long time because they don't think the price was right. Well, all they have to do then is instead of taking the price, they should just make the price. And then you have to deal with the customer, and the person says, oh, I don't know, that's a lot. Well, I realized, did I tell you the story, or did I tell it yesterday about the chickens and the eggs? No? Well, we had people come in this summer, and the lady looked at the board, because we put up what we have for sale that day, and she looks on the board and she goes, oh, you got eggs? Yep, $7 a dozen. Wonderful. Just one thing. How much more would it cost me if I go and pick my own eggs? I was trying not to jump out of my pants and say, that sounds like wonderful. So I said, tell you what, for you today, it'll be the same price. Oh, great, great. But I realized, and that was, I'd already known that, but that was really the nail in the idea that people are not coming to buy eggs or to buy vegetables or fruit. They're coming for the experience. That's what really they're coming for. And so that was really, really good. The other thing is you want to own the customer, because right now, most of the food sold in New Zealand, I would say it's the grocery stores who own the customer. And they can even dictate to their suppliers, you want space on the shelf, it'll cost you $1,000 a month. And that's what happens. And so they set what they want, because everybody who wants access to the customer has to go through them now. But you want access to the customer. You want to be the one who will develop your own group of people, and you don't need 10,000 people. For most farm situations, if you have 100 to 500 families, in many cases you may not even be able to supply 100 people. So the key to that is communication. And the other point is that people really trust farmers. There were surveys done, and the two most trusted professions are farmers and firemen. So we're right up there. Over 93% of people have great trust in farmers. So don't squander that by doing something silly, but really realize that people will basically trust farmers as being honest and do what they expect. So why focus on the UPIC? Well, mainly because of that 40%. So I used to teach fruit production, and I'd studied all the economics of all the productions. And on average, 40% of the cost of production of most fruit is harvesting and packaging. And we often don't even think of this. But packaging is often 10% of the cost of what you get. If I sell a box of apples, for example, I can, if I was conventional, and I don't, but if I was conventional, the best you get is usually about $9 to $10 for a box of apples. And out of that, you're selling the apples boxed, and the box costs $1.25. So there's 12.5% of your cost of sale is just in packaging. People don't think of it, it's just recycled. Well, it costs something, and it costs something to the grower. It doesn't often cost something to, sometimes it will cost to the packer, and that's why the packers pass on the chop in the price to the grower. But it's things to keep in mind. And the other point of focusing on UPIC is we really let the people who come, and in our case the members, do the work of harvesting. And I say the work, because for us it may be work, but it's not work for them. And so that is a substantial saver. So if we do not have or bear this cost, we have a large margin that we can play with. We can say, I'm going to give the people 40% off and still end up in the same place. In fact, you end up better because you haven't had to hire all these people. Or we can take a percentage of that and still give people a break and make more money. No, it's not at that number. It's, if you go to the website, we'll put it on by tonight, on the website of the BeyondOrganicNZTour.com. We'll put that presentation on there. So this is the guy who gave me the idea for this. He wrote this book. His name was Booker T. Watley. He came up with these ideas in the 70s, and he was really promoting them in the 80s. And he wrote this book. Well, actually, this was an article that was written about him, but he wrote this book in 1987. How to make $100,000 farming 25 acres. So how much do you think he was aiming to make per acre? 4,000, yeah. So that was one key of what he was promoting, is he was saying, you know, the key is you've got to get the numbers up per acre. So he had 4 key parts to his plan. One, he said, create a biodiverse, pick your own. That's the key. Everything in his system it's a pick your own. He said, produce 10 crops, keep it simple, produce 10 crops, and sell them to your CMC. That's what his name, he called it a clientele membership club. You really don't have to write it all. You can just download the presentation. And then you market to your membership club for 40% of the supermarket price. And the last one was get a profit. So farming often is not geared a lot towards profit, but he was saying, no, that's, you really need to focus on profit. If you're not making money, why are you staying in business? Or you just have a very expensive job. So these are really his 4 key points. And then he had what he called, and it's in his book, Whatley's 10 Commandments. And this is really interesting because he spent a lot of time looking at this and how it would work. But these are key. One was provide year-round, and that works. He was from Alabama, which is southern U.S., where it is green all year round. And kind of like here, it would grow mostly all year round. For us, that's, unless we were greenhouse-based, it's not possible, but that could be an option. So he says provide year-round daily cash flow, or at least seasonal daily cash flow. Pick your own operation is the second commandment. Have a guaranteed market, and that's really nice because if you have people join, so if Peter joins, highly likely he's going to come to my farm to buy if he's a member of that farm. And one of the nice things we've seen is people will pass other farms that are available that they could stop at, but they'll pass them because they're already a member. So that's that guaranteed market, which is really nice. And the last of these 4 is provide year-round full-time employment. Why should you have to work off-farm just to support the farm? Have the farm support you and provide you with a full-time job. That would be a nice goal. The other one, and this is a really key one, and anytime people talk about retail, what do they say is the key to retail? Location, location, location. Well, if you're doing a retail farm, which this is retail selling, you're selling right to a retail, then you should really focus on location. And so his key is be located on a SARD surface road, less than 40 miles or 60 kilometers from 50,000 population center. And the other point of location is it be on well-drained soil, with an excellent source of water so you can irrigate to compensate for being well drained. So that was what he found was the keys to a good location to market to these people. And one of the things with this distance and this is it's simple. Now, he didn't have it when he was doing it, but now it's simple. You just look, is there a McDonald's in town? If there's a McDonald's, they've done the marketing and you know that there'll be 50,000 people. So this is our water source. That's a lake next door to us. And all these white specks are geese. So we get these snow geese come in, and we'll have 8 or 10,000 snow geese sitting on the lake next door. And so we try to pump as much as we can at that time because it's not just water. They add a little bit to the water. So we're on a very well-drained soil. Our neighbor is a sand and gravel operation. So that was keys. When we were looking for it, we got that, excellent source of water, and we got well-drained soil, but we're not within this distance. We're further than that distance. We're within 20,000 people in that range, but not 50,000. So we're not ideal in location, and what we've done is we've made up for it in just getting the word out really well. The 6th is produce only what the people demand, and that's a tough one for me because I want to experiment and try so many things, but now our next block, now we've tried a whole lot, we know what people want, and now we're going to focus much narrower in only the things that people are really buying. Because it's great to grow things, but if all you end up doing is giving it away, then you're not really getting full value out of it. And that one, shun the middlemen and middle women like the plague, for they are curse upon thee. I mean, he said it out straight. And it's true, because those middle, I'm not meaning bad, and if any of you do it, I don't mean you bad. It's just, for a farmer, that's really a death blow, because they no longer can set the price. As soon as you sell to someone, unless you're talking about an ubi box where you can set a price, and James will talk about that later. You know, that middle part is where really people often cough on. The 8th is compatible complementary crop components, and that earn a minimum in the years he did it, 3,000 per acre, which works out to 6,500 today. So that's the minimum you want your crop to give you per acre, and it's a good target. Now you say, wow, this really doesn't. That does. And so think of your crops and see, you know, gee, am I really able? I would say pasture, does it generate 6,500 per acre? It depends maybe what you raise and if you sell it direct or if you sell it to, I don't know, a sales barn or something. If you were selling, if we sold just lambs, then we don't even raise the lamb, we just buy a lamb and we just fatten it, then we would hit that target, because lamb is pretty good. We get about $500 a lamb when we sell direct.
Wait till it gets to go to bring in a hat.
Well, maybe your lamb prices are lower, because we look at the price of New Zealand lamb in the store and I go, there's no way I could come in with those prices. It's sold in our markets for way less than what we would, but I'm making the price. So I say, look, I'm selling lamb for $8 a pound, which would be $19, $20 a kilo. That's what I'm selling it for. If you make connection and you're selling direct, and you can make people realize that, look, I'm taking really good care, not just of the land, but of the situation, so that the animals are taken good care of. And the other one is to have liability insurance. That's an important one. Last one, be weatherproof. And it's not as critical here as for us. So as far as possible, so they say weatherproof in drip and irrigation. Why? Because you don't want to have a time where the plants stop growing just because they're not getting enough water. Water is the cheapest input. And we've added a frostproof, so that we're trying to weatherproof our whole orchard with a frostproof system. So that if we have a frost when we have blossoms, which we had in 2012, -8 frost when everything's in bloom and it killed all the flowers, so we had no crop. Well, that hurts. So now it's worth putting in a system, and we put a raised pipe system with sprinklers or little misters to prevent frost. So that's his 10 checklist. So you basically go through that, you know, get the presentation on the Beyond Organic NZ tour, and check which ones do you have, which ones can you have if you're looking at doing this. So the history of how we sold, we started with membership. We got a few hundred newsletters mailed out. We got 10% response, 30 members. We did it for 3 years. Then we had one crop failure and it lost value because we started with just apples. That was just a tough road. So most of our members came from an hour away. Then, you know, that was the start. We just started with apples and fowl. That's all we had. So when people would come, that's all they could buy. We're really in the southern part. This is our banana belt. Not because we grow bananas, but it's the warmest we get in our part of the world. We only get -38. We think, geez, these poor suckers that get -40 for sometimes days on end. We're in the warm zone. And man, this is neat. I mean, the water goes up to 15 or 20 degrees in the summer. We can swim, no problem. It's a beautiful country. I'm not intimidating you on it. It's really good. And so we're about an hour southwest of Montreal, which makes it a little too far. Some of our small towns that have a bit more population, but we're not ideally located for this. So what we did learn from that 3 years is that we wanted to do it again. We love the idea of deposits up front, especially for fowl. So if people order chickens, they paid a deposit up front, which paid all our cost of raising that chicken. So we had no risk involved in it. And we wanted to get more local. We wanted more people locally, but we needed a crop diversity. Apples and fowl was just not diverse enough. So we had some years of wandering, trying to do it differently without membership. And so we sold direct, we sold at a health food store, we sold at a food store. So we tried a few things. We did deliveries, and we were delivering juice to people for years, and that worked well to develop a customer base. So we got up several hundred people were regular buyers, and we would still be open for you pick, but we realized we didn't want that open where anybody could come pick, because we would have people come pick, and after a few days of being open, I'd say, are you looking for some really nice fruit? Oh yes. I say, well, go up about 20 miles up the road and you'll find really nice fruit, because ours were not always really nice. They were not your top grade fruit. We had years where there was some damage, but our regular customers who liked the way we did it, they put up with a lack of perfect quality. And so we wanted to be able to select to keep just our prize customers. So in 2010, we began to warm people up to the idea of membership. We were trying to take advantage of our plastic mulch, and we grew a lot of vegetables. Didn't realize how, when you get excited about planting beans, for example, it's easy to plant 1,000 foot of beans. 1,000 feet of beans, when they're productive, you realize I don't have enough freezer space for all those beans, and we're not going to be eating that much beans all winter. So we would open it up and we would say free. So come pick it for free. That began to warm people up to the idea of coming to U-Pick and the diversity that they were starting to see. So we did have that. We had cucumbers, we had beans, we had squash, and so on. We had a lot of things.
So this was annuals grown amongst your trees?
Yes. So you see, here's our young trees and the annuals grown, and that's how you can be profitable. Actually, if you set this up, you can be profitable in the first year. You consider the investment, because it is an investment to put the orchard in and the infrastructure. You depreciate that over 10 years, and you say, okay, I'm going to pay that off in 10 years, and you take your increment of every year, and you can pay that off and make a profit in the first year, second year, third year, which is really interesting, because then you can start actually making money. But you need to have you pick vegetables and raise animals. With those two, you can turn a profit. You have to be good at marketing. You have to love people. If you don't like people, don't consider this. So you got to consider your strengths. So we returned to membership in the last 3 years. Like I said, 2012 we had a spring frost, total loss, and I saw that as a chance to start, to at least integrate that, because I knew we wouldn't have much fruit to sell, or none. So the first year was so-so. People said, well, why should I join? I've been buying from you for 10 years. Why do I have to join now? So I took that as a chance. So we integrated the first year. The second year, we had an abundance. That's the year of the film, so it's easy to say the word abundance, because we didn't know what to do with some of the fruit. There was so much. So we were giving people free 75 kilos of apples. Just come and pick. That's a lot of apples. Most people didn't even pick it all, because they thought, what am I going to do with 75 kilos of apples? So we doubled our membership with that one offering. People all of a sudden said, what, you're telling me that for $55 to be a member I get 75 kilos of apples? That sounds like a pretty good deal. And so bam, that was a good jump. So we were willing to give things away for free, because we know that the value is not in the one time, it's the long term. We'll make our money back when people stay with us for a few years. So that was the offering, and it worked incredibly well. We realized, look, we want people who know that when there's a lot, we're willing to share, but when there isn't, you're willing to put up with the difference. The advantages, really, of membership, we get money before the season starts. That's beautiful. Having a big, like when I get back, we're going to do the mailing, and we'll get back a good chunk of money come in early in the season. Getting the deposit for meats is great. And we can balance the number of members with production. If we say we're just open, we could be swamped with 1,000 people on a day, and that's no longer fun. That becomes a problem. How do we manage 1,000 people? But if we have 150 people and they don't all come at one moment, they come throughout the day, that's manageable, that's enjoyable. So we can use members to glean by offering them things for free. It's like using animals. And it works better, because even though they come and they glean these things for free, they're buying other things. So I don't mean it like we're using them, we're just herding them gently towards what we want them to glean. And it works great. We have no fruit loss this way. If we see that we have something that we're going to have too much of, hey, we're going to have this free this weekend. And they come. People come because they hear, oh, you got, like this year we had 2 big weekends of small fruit, and then we still had a lot of small fruit. What do we do it? Let's do it free. And we had people cleaning up. There wasn't anything left. The last people, I felt bad for them, but I said, look, we're closing at 4, you come at 3. Sorry, you know, it's been cleaned out. There's nothing left. So next time we know they'll come earlier.
Can I ask you, with the members coming in and picking, do you give them, I mean, I guess when they're there for several years, they kind of know how it rolls, but do you give them an instruction on do stuff so that you don't end up with a tree that's not producing anymore, or a plant that actually has been...
Yes, that's where we can invest in a member that we couldn't invest if it's just somebody who might come once. Because we're planning that we expect that people will come back for several years. We want to invest, and then we'll say, look, here's how to pick. So often I'll have one person come and I look, oh, there's 2 more cars coming in. So just wait here for a few minutes, you know, and we'll wait till they come, and I'll show the 3 of you how to do it. And I can take 5 minutes to show. It doesn't take long to show how to properly pick fruit. And they get it. And now they've been shown, and they will take care. People say, oh, I don't want people, they don't know how to pick. Well, did you take time to show them how to pick? And then while I'm showing them that, I'll say, well, you can also, this is free today. You can take all the chives you like. Really? Yeah, just help yourself. And we try to have something free every time we're open. That's important, because sometimes people will come just for the free, but then there's these 10 other items that you pay for. That's the goal. If we get a smile, we know it'll equate to a full cart. So that's really, really nice. You know, people are happy, they're having a good time, and it's only when they realize, oh my God, there's no more room, now we have a problem because we have to build bigger carts. And it's just the carts are getting to be the limit. People would buy more, but I go, oh man, we need bigger carts, because people get excited and they just get carried away, and they go, you know, I don't know what people will stop there and they'll be paying me and they'll say, I don't know what I'm going to do with all this. I go, do you have friends? Yeah. Well, give some of it away. Yeah, okay, you know. They had such a good time. They're smiling, they had fun. It's not like going to the grocery store. Not at all. So the advantage is you own the customer. And how do I mean own them? You have their name and their email. That's really, really important. You've got to get everybody who comes, you've got to capture this. You've got to have this. In fact, if they're a member, you already have this, because for them to join, we send them a membership card, and so we have their name, their email, and their mailing address. You're a price maker, and you can be freed from harvesting. Harvesting is, to me, it's a job. I've done it. For years, I've picked my 100-ton of fruit, and it's not as fun as it used to be. Now it's more of a job, but it's fun for me to greet people, have them do it, and just collect the money from them. That is fun. You can limit the number, and this is where you can invest in educating them. So those are really the important things. It really is heartwarming to see people respond to, for example, this was my wife's idea. She says, no, we're going to mail it. Why? Because people don't get handwritten mailed items much anymore. Everything is automated. She says, no, I'll do it. She says, I'll send everybody their membership card and I'll write it by hand. And she puts a thank you note. So, you know, thank you for being a member. And people go, wow, when was the last time you got thanked for joining something? And so they put these comments, you know, on Facebook and so on. That's heartwarming. And one of the great benefits of having direct contact with the customer is I get the feedback. If I did a good job, if people find the fruit was good, if they thought the food was satisfying, I get to hear about it. Most growers, if you raise sheep, do you think, when was the last time you were told how good your sheep was? You know, or if you're raising apples, do you sell so that you'll actually hear it and get feedback? If you don't get feedback, I don't know what feeds you, because that's really what feedback is. You get positive or negative, and if it's negative, it's not bad. I don't look at it as bad. I know if I've done a bad job, and I acknowledge, yeah, I know, this year we blew it on this crop or whatever, and that's fine. But it allows you to get that important feedback. The other advantages is that people will pass by other farms and you can sell off extra production. This was a great one. We always raise more than what we need. And if we have orders for 100, we'll raise 120 or 150 because we know that we may get losses and we do want to keep some of it for ourselves. So we raised ducks. Okay, did a batch of ducks. And all of a sudden, man, ducks are hard as nails. We didn't lose a single duck. So I said, what the duck? What are we going to do with all these? Send an email, and in half an hour, we sold 50 ducks. People were sending, sorry, we're sold out already. Sorry, we're sold out already. I thought, my goodness, you know, you get your list built, and then you just fire it down there, and wow, it really can move product quickly. It's always easier to keep a customer than to find a new one. That's the key. Focus on keeping your customers. It's a lot harder to find new customers. And we look at the lifetime value of the customer. For example, we aim to get, if you just look at 10 years, and on average they spend $200 a year. So what would be the lifetime value? 10 years times $200. Lifetime, that customer is worth to us $2,000. Now, how do you get more years or for them to purchase more per year? That's what we focus on. And the diversity has been key. So we add to the diversity. We try to make personal contact with them, and we definitely try to make them feel special. They'll buy more. Because they go, well, I know you, Billy. You know, of course I'm going to trust selling to you. I know you. How often do they know? They don't even know who owns the grocery store. So if they trust you, they're far more likely to buy more from you. And it's really that trust is critical. You have to establish that trust. Let's just get some air in our... Lift your... Go ahead. Stand up and sit down. Stand up and sit down 3 times. Stretch your arms out and sit down. Sit down. Now get up again. You got to get some... You know, the mind can't absorb more than the seat can endure. So you got to get that. Yeah, usually one person is fine. And it's kind of... There's a central way that people come in. And it's kind of that way that they leave. We really don't have to police them. People tend to come. And actually, a lot of times they buy, they're finished, and they hang around for half an hour because, hey, what they realize is they love meeting people like them. And that's where we really start to create a sense of community because people have never met each other, and all of a sudden, you know, they start chatting, oh yeah, and that's where you see that. Where do you get that happen at the grocery store? I mean, people, oh, I know you. But when perfect strangers, all of a sudden, they don't know each other and they just start talking and boom, they realize they have a lot in common. And that's why our customers tend to be quite similar in their what they're looking for.
And how many times a year do they come?
On average, twice. Yeah, that's something we want to increase, but the locals come much more. So that's where we want to get much more people from local to come. So we aim to get a diversity of crops. If they come and one thing is ready, but instead of having one, they have many. And that was what I learned early on with the apples. People would come and pick and they go, okay, I got my box of apples. What else do you have, Lisa? Lisa, right? What else do you have? And I'd go, I have another kind of apple. Yeah, I don't really want another kind of apple. So that's when I realized, wow, diversity is key. Because once they've made the effort to come out, they've spent the gas, they've spent the time, what more do you have? I'm here. And often the people's limiting point is they run out of cash. So I kind of remind them, you know, we put the prices so that they'll have some idea, but they don't realize how carried away they get because it's so much fun, they'll just pick. And then they go, oh, I don't know if I have enough money. How much do you think? Sometimes they'll come back and they say, how much will it be? Well, I just weigh it. I say, oh. And then they go see their friend that came with them and they say, can you lend me some money? I'll pay you back. And that's great that we haven't gotten to the electronic age where we take credit cards and so on yet. It's all cash. So, and then would you like flowers with your apples? Why? Because for us, flowers are a crop. And in fact, that's our most often free item. And people really appreciate that. The idea of, hey, if we come and pick, and that's really, I mean, people will pick a bucket of flowers. Go ahead, it's free, pick it. And then they'll have one bunch they'll give to their neighbor, they'll give another one to their sister, and they like that idea. And for us, it's a win-win. Why? Because if you don't keep picking the flowers, they'll go to seed and they'll stop. So we like them to pick it all, get them all off of that, and then the plant will just shoot up a new bunch of flowers. More than one color. So if you have one thing, example, this is a red plum, well, have a blue plum. That's important. More than one species all the time. So if they're coming for apples, they can pick pears, and maybe they can pick plums and pick cucumbers and whatever. So our ultimate goal is to have 500 members, each buying $1,000 a year, which would give us our $10 a square meter. So that's what we aim for. So the economics of the farm are based on that target, and that's very profitable. I mean, very, very profitable. But that would be our goal. Why? Because why not? We know it's possible. We know that per square meter we can get that much. We haven't gotten it across the whole farm. But we know based on how much apples, how much small berries, how much plants underneath, how many animals can be raised, we know we can hit that target. Now the target is to hit it on a whole farm scale. This goal is using mostly a perennial system, which means I no longer have to be planting, and now I no longer even have to do harvesting.
How big is your property?
12 acres.
Seriously?
So is this something you can do is there an optimum size you can do on 3 acres?
You can do it on our first block, the one in the film, which we filmed in just the first block, is 1 acre.
1 acre.
Yeah. And 1 acre, so if we're looking at 1 acre, we could get about $45,000 per acre. 1 acre probably isn't enough, but one person can handle anywhere between 2 to 5. I don't even know the final limit because we don't have enough yet replanted and mature. But as it matures, the work decreases. And so one person, I suspect, can handle between 3 to perhaps 10 acres. I don't know, really. If you're no longer having to plant, you're basically just welcoming people and collecting cash. Almost to that easy. Do some mowing.
Do you prune your trees a lot?
We do a lot. No. I don't think today we'll focus on that. We did at Jason's, and maybe if we have some time we'll do. But pruning has been decreased by over 80%. The amount. We still prune everything, but it takes so much less time. We've learned to train our trees instead of pruning them, and it's fantastic. I mean, there are trees we don't touch for 3-4 years.
Jason, are you going to run a workshop on training?
Absolutely.
When are you going to do it?
August, I think. We'll do our follow-up back at Habitat. We'll do the winter part of the cycle.
Yeah. So that's why I say absolutely join together as a group here. You'll be getting the emails and you'll be getting aware of what's happening. Before the end of the day, I definitely would like at least there be 1, hopefully 2 visits, workshops, whatever, follow-ups. Maybe Jason's would be one. And take advantage of it. You've got expertise here. Every one of you has knowledge that you could bring to the group. And so that is really, really important way of continuing on. Billy?
Just to go back quite a bit, with the animals, what's the laws like in the States? Because it's quite difficult for us to process and sell meat from your place. There's a lot of health and safety. You have to send it away to an abattoir, you have to have all the butchery done professionally. It's a big cost, and you have to have the storage facilities that are up to scratch with the health and safety and the sales distribution. Is it similar in your part of the world?
The U.S. is easier than our part of the world. Ours is far more regulated. We're in Canada.
Yeah.
I go by the approach. One of my mentors is Joel Salatin, if you may have heard of him. And I like his approach. He says, you're better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. And so just start. So we started a long time ago with the birds. We've developed the market. And now if we end up getting clamped down seriously, we'll just say, look, people, sorry, we'll no longer be able to sell chickens unless you respond.
So do you slaughter them?
We do. But we offer them, they're the same price, whether you pick it up alive or slaughtered. So we say, look, if you want it killed, we'll kill it for you, no cost. But if you want to take the chicken live for yourself, go ahead. Most people, actually no, everybody prefers to have it done. So you see, we're selling live chickens, but we offer just to do it for free.
Not plucked.
Oh yes, they're plucked, gutted, and frozen. Not necessarily frozen, sometimes fresh, depending on the day.
What do you do with the leftovers that you have?
The leftover birds or the
No,
guts
the
and things?
guts in it, yeah.
Actually now we have very little to be composted. Almost everything is taken by members who have dogs. The guts, they want buckets of guts and feet. Feet are sold. People buy feet. There's very little. The only thing we really don't get anything out of is the feathers, and we compost it. And the blood, and we compost it. But it's incredible once you offer it that, that people want to have it all. In fact, I'm even stopping with some of my members who want to buy chickens to feed to dogs. I go, look, I'll sell you the guts, but I prefer not. I'll sell you 2 chickens and you can eat it yourself, but I don't want to sell chickens as dog food. Because they say, yeah, but we can't buy good chickens like that. Well, that's right. You can't buy good chickens, so don't buy these good chickens for dog food. So we're even limiting what people, if she hadn't told me, I would have sold her a lot more. But she told me she wanted it for a dog, so I said, well, no. I won't sell it to you as dog food.
What happens with your exporting, taking a lot of that energy off your property, like from the chickens? How do you make it so they...
Well, we do bring in feed. So the food that they're fed is really, it's better than free fertilizer. Because that food, the cost of it is all paid for, and we get paid for the meat and our labor. The chickens end up being at least twice and up to 3 times more profitable than the fruit. Because that grassy land is very valuable. If you got a bit of grassy land around, you need to start getting into chickens, not just land. Chickens are really valuable on pasture. People just don't have access to much. And then anyway, the processing, like I say, don't worry about it too much. Offer it, just offer to give people their chickens, or sell them their chickens live, but if they want it, then anyway. I don't want to send my chickens off to be processed, mainly because I've seen how other people process them, and I'm very particular about how our birds are treated, especially treated and processed. And so it's like, we've done all this to give you the absolute best. We're not going to, anyway. We want our children's children to remain members. That's how long we want to create a relationship, because that is a business. That's not just me having a job. I can sell the farm if that's the case, and people say, I can see the cash flow guaranteed every year. We use email. We use a MailChimp, which is one of the programs. There's lots of different programs, but that's the key cornerstone to how we communicate with people. So one of our members has taken over doing all the emailing in return for some of the food she gets. And I'm really happy with that. It saves me from having to think and write all these things up. Realize that every product has a story. That is really key. You've got to learn to be able to tell the story of how your food has happened.
And I've got news for you. There's no point doing what you do unless it's somehow good for you. Got to get a result or two in the form of something real. Now if you're feeling stressed and not the best and have trouble finding happiness, well, here's one thing I will suggest. Contain yourself, yield. Contain yourself, yield. Sustain your energy. Don't drain yourself, maintain yourself, obtain yourself, yeah. Now asleep. And if you feel like there's not enough air, then breathe in very deep. And if you're thirsty, then you order, get yourself a drink of water. And if it's gonna be cold and you're feeling bold, you can cheer yourself a sheep.
As a matter of fact,
in any given moment, there's everything you need. Just look around, it will be found. And obtain yourself a yield. Obtain yourself a yield. Take only what you need. Life's pretty fun when you're getting some, but there's no need for greed. Obtain yourself a yield, and one for others too. Make sure to seal both ends of the deal. What's good for both of you? Yeah, an easy way to do it is to give one to your friends. Because the good things you do come back to you, and the yield just never ends. That's right, the good things you do come back to you, and the yield just never ends. Yeah, the good things you do come back to you, and the yield just never ends.